Okay, so I'm going to get started. Obviously, it's the end of the day, so I don't want to extend this much later than it needs to be. Anyone that joins us will miss the beginning, but you're going to have access to the recording of the webinar as well. So let's just get started. Oh, there he is. Okay. All right, so welcome to the Social Customer Service webinar part 1. Like I said, there's going to be a part 2 next week because there was so much content that I felt was valuable to any kind of business owner. It doesn't matter how big or small your business is. So part 1 is going to be basically the fundamentals and the basics and walking you through the foundation of what you need to understand and to provide really good social customer service. We're going to go through our topics for today. So we will be covering the introduction to social customer service. We'll also be covering social customer service best practices, benefits of social customer service, the 3 stages of social customer service, and then I'm going to walk you through a social customer service plan. So that's really a plan and a resource. I'm going to send you a PDF of the plan after the webinar that you can use to actually start developing your social customer service. Once we break it down, you'll understand why you need it and that you can't just use you can't just use social media haphazardly. So the plan will be very beneficial to your business. And then as usual, we always go through our case studies. We talk about the next webinar and then the live Q&A. Okay. All right, so if you want to keep the conversation going online, it doesn't mean distract yourself from the webinar, but if there's anything that jumps out to you when I'm talking and you want to share it with anyone on your social media platforms, you can use the hashtag #LearnWithBawoni. Our social media handles on all platforms are @BawoniConsult, and just tag us and use that hashtag so that we can see it after the webinar as well. All right, so for those of you that don't know me and that are joining for the first time, my name is Maureen Asibawoni. I'm the founder of Bawoni Consult. I've spent the past 8 years working in managerial roles in retail, hospitality, and education, as well as tourism. I set up Bawoni Consult in about 2016, mainly to be a customer experience agency and to make customer experience resources available to anyone, individuals, businesses, anyone that's interested in developing customer experience. Obviously, customer service falls underneath customer experience. So a lot of our work so far has been customer service related, but in the last 12 to 18 months, more businesses are asking about customer experience because they're understanding that it's not just about simple and single customer service issues that they're trying to overcome, but the overall experience that they're providing their customers. Bawoni's core services are customer service and customer experience training, resource development. So we develop guides for businesses, we develop standard operating procedures, any resource that's going to help a business develop and maintain the consistency of the customer experience, we work on our clients with. And obviously we provide business advisory services in relation to customer experience and customer experience consultation as well for individuals. And it also includes coaching for individuals that are interested in it. All right, so just the normal welcoming and housekeeping. Obviously, I'm excited to have you here. I might not look excited. It's been a long day, but I'm excited. I'm excited on the inside. We're gonna have our usual polling during the session. So we introduced this last week where during the session, we're gonna take a break, 1 or 2 minutes, and run polls so that you guys can vote based on the contents that we're going through on how you can apply it and how it applies within the context of your business. So that's a great way for us to have a bit more of an interactive experience with this webinar. And then obviously for any questions, you can ask during the webinar, but put it in the chat box. And then during the live Q&A at the end of the webinar, I will be answering or responding to those questions. And then can you please indicate, or in the chat box, you can raise your hand if I'm talking too fast, because I generally do talk really fast. And all participants are on mute. So if I do hear some feedback, I will just mute you. And then at the end, when we do the live Q&A, I will unmute you so that you can ask your questions what I do recommend this time is that when you're asking your questions, introduce yourself. If you have a business, tell us about your business. Give us like 30 seconds to a minute about your business, and then you can ask your question. There might be someone else that's on this webinar that might need your services or your products. So it's always good for you to be able to introduce yourself, and then if they want your contact information, they can put it in the chat box, and then you guys can exchange information in that way. The webinar tends to last about 90 minutes, and then 15 to 20 minutes for questions. So overall, 2 hours, but it really depends on how fast we get through the content and how many questions we have at the end of the webinar. Like I said, it's the end of the day. I don't want to keep you guys behind your laptops or on your phone for too long. And obviously I know because it's the end of the day, our attention spans are a bit shorter. So I'm gonna try and get through this. Just remind me if I'm going through too fast, and I'll slow down. If you have any questions, just let me know. Okay. So I'm gonna start with one of my favorite quotes, actually 2 of my favorite quotes. One of them is off the top of my head, but this is one of them, and it basically says, today complainers, haters are that does not make sense. They're the canaries in the coal mine. They are the early warning detection system for your businesses. So basically this quote is saying that irrespective of how negative the feedback is, you can use that to your benefit for your business. So I think of it as like a smoke detector. If there's a fire in your house and the smoke detector works, the smoke detector is going to go off before the fire engulfs your house. So you should always think of negative feedback or any complaints or attacks on social media as a way to improve the overall service and operations of your business. My second quote is that knowledge is power, but only if you apply it. So it's great to come for the webinars, and it's like you get all this knowledge, but you need to apply it. And that's why when we have the webinars, I always try to give you actionable steps after that you can follow through in your business, or even if you're an employee, ways that you can improve the service or your job or your responsibilities at your workplace. Okay, so let's start with what social customer service is. Before we do that, I'm gonna start with a poll. And you can simply, it's gonna pop up and then you can simply vote. It'd be like 30 seconds because this isn't really a hard question. And you just have to select everything that applies to your business. So the question is, what social media platforms do you use for your business? You can select all that apply, and then we'll see which platform is used the most. A few more people have to vote. Okay, it's looking like most people use Instagram and WhatsApp. And then less Twitter and then Facebook. The top 3, Instagram, WhatsApp, and Facebook. Okay, so I'll share the results with you guys. Okay, hopefully you've all seen the results. All right, so we can get started. So most businesses set up their social media pages to showcase their products and services. Now more than ever, it's important to use social media proactively to provide excellent customer service, as well as engage with your customers. I'm sure when you guys were starting your businesses, you were like, okay, which social media platform am I going to use? I'm going to go on Instagram because everyone has to see my products. I'm going to go on Twitter so that I can talk about my services, or I can showcase my products, and I'm going to go on Facebook. Usually those are the top 3 that people use, and then they use WhatsApp to communicate with their customers and send broadcasts. Social customer service is actually the act of providing customer service to customers via social media channels. Obviously, Bawoni doesn't just focus on customer service. We're thinking about the overall customer experience. So this webinar is going to show you how to use social customer service to improve the overall experience that you're providing your customers. So let's discuss the differences between regular customer service and social customer service. The first one is obviously no body language. You can't see the person, so you can't really, usually with customer service in-person interactions, we train people on their body language and how to use positive body language. So we would definitely say, don't cross your arms when you're talking to a customer, because that kind of like pushes them off or makes them feel like you're defensive. And with social customer service, it's all online, so you can't see the person. Even if it's on video call, that's also very limited. So you have to remember that the difference is that there's no body language. So because there's no body language, what is important is that you have to be able to think about how you can communicate that you're trying to help the customer in a way that is friendly and welcoming through your words and your intonation or your tone. Okay, so the next thing is it's a spectator sport. So we'll go over these in depth as we go through the slides. And then the third thing is that it's very accessible. So social customer service is very accessible to everyone because everyone has a smartphone, everyone has a tablet, everyone has a laptop at their fingertips. So they're able to provide feedback to brands, and the brands are able to also interact with them easily on social media. So like I said, no body language. It's really important to pay attention to your tone of voice. And tone of voice is not limited to actual audible, like what you can hear. It's also in the way that you write things. So you can interact with someone and you can find out, like let's say you send someone a message on Instagram and they said, okay, DM if you want more information. And then you send them a DM and they're responding with one-word answers. That's also tone of voice. They're sounding disinterested. They're not engaging with you. They don't sound or seem like they want to help you. Another thing is to be as human as possible. So being as human as possible means using names and emotions. It means that when someone contacts you on your business Instagram or social media channel, you actually give them a name so that they know who they're talking to. So usually when people interact with other brands on social media, you'll find that they'll say, okay, send us a DM, but you never know who exactly you're talking to. You don't know if it's Ama or if it's Kofi. You don't know if it's Maureen. You just know that it's the name of the brand and you don't know which person or who is behind that account. So it helps to actually say, okay, my name is Maureen. I would like to help you today. How can I help you? Or how can I help you with this product? Or what question might you have that I can help you with? Another thing is when you're dealing with customers that are either irate or unhappy, or even they're happy, it's good to be able to communicate emotions. So I'm really pleased that you reached out to us today, or I understand that you're frustrated. So it helps to actually build your vocabulary of emotions. So frustration, happy, sad, angry, just get a list of them and develop little pre-drafted responses that you can use, so you can start practicing them and handle your social media interaction with your customers in a way that, first of all, introduces yourself, and then you're able to communicate emotions. Like I said, social customer service is a spectator sport. So what it means is that even though one person is sending you a message, so many other people are watching it. So one person can tag your brand in a message, but 100 people can see it. It's definitely a spectator sport. And it's a way that your customers can actually win over other customers for you. So if a customer sends or makes a positive comment on your product or your service, and their friends see it, then it generates interest and they might go and check out your profile. So you have to always think about it as a spectator sport, and the fact that you want your customers to always provide excellent service, excellent comments. Sorry, that was my dog. Excellent comments about the products and services that you are offering. Another thing is that because it's a spectator sport, there's going to be negative feedback. And so it's really important that you think about the time, how much time it takes for you to respond to negative feedback. Sometimes there's brands that just won't respond to negative feedback and it just sits there. Some brands delete negative comments, which is probably one of the worst things that you can do for social customer service. But you have to find a way to constantly respond to your customers in a timely manner. Being generous and patient will get you noticed as well. So if people see that you're always like responding to customers, and no matter how many questions they're asking you or how long it takes for them to get the information that they need, you're still interacting with them online, it's going to get you noticed. And also, like I said, remember to try and resolve any kind of conflict or any kind of disruption in the customer experience you're providing in a timely manner, and to resolve it online. So I'm going to elaborate on the importance of resolving any kind of conflict online later on in this webinar, but it's important that you focus on that. Okay, another reason that social customer service is very important is that ease of accessibility. Like I said, everyone has a smartphone, everyone has a laptop, everyone has a tablet, so they can easily just go on their phone and provide negative or positive feedback. In the past, it was a bit more difficult because obviously, if you didn't have a smartphone, you would have to wait till you get home and then maybe get on your computer or get on your laptop. And all those steps made it more like frustrating for a customer to go and post online or whatever. Like it just was it's more labor intensive. But now, because it takes literally seconds for you to tweet something about your experience with a brand, it's made it harder for us as businesses, but also easier for us to see what our customers think about our brands, our products, and their services. So you have to take advantage of it in terms of the good, the bad, and the interesting. And it doesn't have to be dramatic. You don't have to be defensive. There's ways to get around social customer service and the feedback that you're getting from customers in a way that isn't defensive. So one of our case studies today is actually about a situation that happened yesterday online, and the brand was very defensive. And I just happened to see it, obviously, because social customer service is a spectator sport. And I was like, I have to put this in the webinar so everyone can see what I mean when I say it's a spectator sport. And you always have to have that at the forefront of your mind. We're going to do our second poll right now. And I want you to rate your social customer service at your business. If you don't have a business and you're tuning in, rate what you would want it to be if you had a business, or rate how you interact with employees within your job. Okay, so you have about a minute to do this. Okay, excellent. Okay, I think there was one person. Okay. All right, so the majority, okay, there's a tie between good and excellent. So share the results for you guys to see. Okay, so let's continue. So let's just go over the best practices for social customer service. The first thing is that you have to pick the best social media platform for your business. So initially, when you start your business, one thing you're going to think about is I want to be able to showcase my products and my services, but that doesn't necessarily translate to where your customers are. So once you started your business for a while, you have to pay attention to where your customers are contacting you and engaging you on. I find that a lot more people engage with me on Twitter, so I spend more time focusing on my Twitter so that I can respond in a timely manner. But then I also do Instagram. When I post and people comment, I post and then I engage with them in that way. But you have to pay attention to where your customers are. So for example, if one of the things, I think I spoke about this early on in my other webinars, but one of the questions you can ask your customers is, how did they find out about you? And if they heard about you on social media, what social media platform it is, and take down that data and track what's the most frequent or most common platform your customers are finding out about you and engaging with you on. That's where you need to focus on your social customer service the most. The next thing is you have to monitor your social media mentions. So I usually recommend that with monitoring your social media mentions, it's so hard when you're on like 3 different platforms. Use a social media management tool or a social media planner. Some of the tools that I've talked about are Hootsuite, which can show you your mentions on Twitter. I don't know if it shows you your mentions on Facebook or Instagram. Probably if you upgrade to a paid account, it would. Planoly is also really great. It shows you your mentions on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. Later is also one that I use, and it shows you your mentions and your interactions with customers. So you can actually see on one screen rather than going through the different accounts. It makes you more efficient. Also look for mentions that might not be obvious. Sometimes what we do is we just look for mentions that we've been tagged in, but sometimes people don't tag us in their comments. So what I try to do is I always try and search to see if someone has mentioned my company name or my name. And then I can see other comments and get a pulse on what other conversation is going on with regards to my brand. Another thing is quick response matters in social support. So you lose the attention of the customer if it takes you 2 hours or 3 hours or 4 hours or a day to respond to a comments that they've put on social media, especially if it's a bad comment. If it's a bad comment, they're just gonna like totally have a negative experience and you might actually lose that customer. So what I would recommend is that you decide on a response time that you can actually deliver on. So some companies have like maybe 24 hours, some 12 hours, some 6 hours, some 20 minutes, some 30 minutes, but they've decided on a response time. And I usually try and have a response time and try to beat the response time. So if it's 3 hours, then I just want to know that within 2 hours, I would get to that customer. The next point is to take things offline when necessary in an appropriate manner. So ordinarily, it's not recommended to take things offline simply because you can't, businesses tend to forget to show the resolution of the conflict or the problem back online. So once it's resolved offline, they never go back online to show that it was resolved. And so customers, like I said, social customer service is a spectator sport. Other people might think that it was never resolved, but it was actually resolved. And the thing is, not a lot of customers will go back and say, oh, thank you to Bawoni Consults for resolving my issue. Everything is great now. Thank you for your speedy service. Not a lot of customers will do that. Only a few customers will do that. So it's important that if you do take it offline, it has to be absolutely necessary. Usually it's if you need to get the person's information or something that's very private, then you take it offline, but you always have to get back online to show that you've resolved the issue so that other spectators can see that you've resolved it and you paid attention to that customer. So use your knowledge base to make things easier for the customer. I've talked about this. It's really important that whoever is dealing with customers, whichever customer-facing staff you have, they basically have excellent knowledge of your products and your services and know how to navigate the nuances of dealing with customers. You don't want to put someone in charge of dealing with customers when they don't understand your business, they don't understand your company culture, none of that. Because what happens is that even if it's a simple issue or a simple challenge, it might actually exacerbate the problem. So you want to be constantly training whoever your customer-facing staff is on how to actually deal with any issues with customers. Okay, so we're going through our polls pretty fast, but this is the third one. What do you think is your best platform for your social customer service, especially now that we've talked about the things that you have to consider when it comes to social media and your social customer service? So knowing where your customers are, knowing how your customers are finding out about you, all of that. So you can choose what you think your best platform is, and it usually should only be one top platform. So where are your customers contacting you the most? Where are they liking your pictures? Where are they commenting? Where are they sending you DMs? Are they calling you? Are they contacting you on WhatsApp with the WhatsApp number that you have? No, Instagram. I'm surprised. WhatsApp again. Okay, so it looks like Instagram is in the lead. I'm going to share the results with you. All right, so we will continue. Okay, so I love this image because it actually shows you your consumers or your customers' responses or reactions would be to a poor brand response on social media. So this is a situation where customer has posted on social media and has tagged you or your business and you haven't responded. So there's different ways that they can respond to it. So either they will post again on social media and be like, oh my God, I can't believe they didn't respond. And they'll keep ranting about the problem that they're having, or they'll contact you on another channel. So maybe you're not responding on social media, they might contact you on WhatsApp. They'll boycott the brand. And that's literally the most voted in this survey. they'll just decide that, you know, they just don't want to deal with it anymore because there's other brands that can provide the service or the excellent experience that they want. Or they'll share with friends online. So this happens a lot. People will just decide to talk to their customer, their friends, or their network online and talk about their experience and rant about their experience because they're not getting a response from me. Another thing is they'll share with friends online. So this also happens. I happen to get it a lot because of what I do. People will tag me and be like, Maureen, you won't believe what happened. I bought this and this is the experience that I have. It happens almost like every day with me. And it's actually one of the reasons why I started some of my services, my mystery dining and mystery shopping services. And then some people will just forget about it because it's maybe not a big deal. And others will just unfollow the brand completely because they just feel like if I'm not getting a response, there's no reason why I should interact with them. There's no reason why I should purchase their products or services. Okay. So let's talk about the benefits of social customer service. So these are the 4 top benefits of social customer service. The first one being brand engagement. It's a great way for you to be able to interact with your customers and to get feedback. You know, if a customer posts that they purchased something from you, you can ask them about what they thought about the product or what they thought about their experience. And simply publishing content is no longer enough to engage customers. You have to find ways to develop those relationships with your customers so that they're able to develop their loyalty to your brand. The second benefit is it builds awareness. So online word of mouth is a really impactful way to spread awareness about your brand. It turns your customers into your brand ambassadors with your timely engagement. So it builds awareness, like I said, because it's a spectator sport. If someone posts a tweet about something with your brand, hundreds of other people will see it. If someone posts on social media or Instagram about your brand, hundreds of other people will see it. So you have to keep in mind that you can actually use social customer service to your benefit to build the awareness of your brand. And then obviously it grows your customer lifetime value. For those of you that were not with us when we were discussing building more customer-centric or customer-focused businesses, customer lifetime value is basically the total amount of money a customer is expected to spend in your business or on your products during their lifetime. So it could be money or it could be the value of that customer. So you want to always be growing the customer lifetime value. And I always use the example of Papaye. Like I've been going to Papaye for 20-something years. So imagine how much money I've spent at Papaye. And you want to really develop and grow that customer lifetime value. So use social customer service to grow that customer lifetime value because you've developed that customer loyalty. And then obviously it's a great way to track trends and insights. I love that with Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, you can have polls about how customers feel about your products. You can also pay attention to how they're interacting with your channel or your brand online because you have all these insights and analytics on these social media pages. So you definitely should use social media for more, well, not just as social customer service, but as a way to get the information that you need about your brand because that data is very valuable. So we're going to talk about the 3 stages to social customer service. Basically, the 3 stages to social customer service is like the holistic or the natural progression that brands take before they start thinking about social customer service. Ideally, you should be thinking about it from the beginning of your business, of setting up your business, but that doesn't always happen. So usually what happens is that obviously businesses will set up their social media pages and they're doing that to reach their customers and to market their products. So that's stage 1, that's the reach. That's when you're reaching out to your customers. And what companies do is that they, rather than just reaching out and providing information about their products and their services, they also have to respond to comments and engage the customers. It's also a great way to listen to what your customers are saying about your brand. The second stage is when businesses begin to respond, okay? So this is when your company realizes that there's a need for social customer service because customers are engaging you on social media about their experiences with your brand. So you can't leave your customers engaging you and not really say anything. And that's why you have to start thinking about who's going to be responsible for responding to my customers. So sometimes a business will set up their social media. They might hire a third-party marketing company to handle their social media, but they're not really thinking about how is that marketing company going to respond to my customers. And what is really important with social customer service is that it should align with your company culture. So if you're running a company that you feel takes pride in the fact that you really want to get to know your customers and you always want to be helpful and resourceful, you don't want a marketing company managing your platforms and not being able to respond to your customers in a timely manner, not answering questions that your customers may have. So you have to always think about what response you're providing online. Then finally, at stage 3, and I'm hoping that you guys are either in stage 2 or getting to stage 3, it's the point at which a business realizes that the social media is a key, social media is a key social customer service channel. Sorry, that was a typo. The focus becomes on full engagement and timely resolution. So in the 3rd stage, when you're resolving the issues or you're dealing with the comments that customers have, you have to pay attention to timely resolution and the fact that you're actively engaging the customers. It doesn't mean that when something happens, then you decide to engage the customers. What it means is that you can actually be proactive about it. So a customer posts about a product or service that they had from your brand, rather than just leaving it there or retweeting, you can ask them a question or you can retweet it and then, smiley face. So I'm going to show you some case studies of different ways that you can respond to customers. But what you're really trying to do is you're trying to develop those customer relationships. Okay, so this is the social customer service plan. So we're going to focus on this for a little bit because it's really important. And what I've done is I've put in different examples of how you can respond to social customer service interactions. So if someone makes a comment on your social media page. So for the top, you'll see that those are the 5 different categories that you can put your engagements into. So it's either a complaint, an attack, a query, a compliment, or a chat. So a complaint is just your salesperson was being rude or your salesperson was rude. An attack is business X is a scam. A query is how much is product X. A compliment is, wow, thank you for the speedy service, even though my order was last minute. And a chat is, I made the best smoothie using handy frozen mangoes, okay? So on the left side, you're gonna see there's the always. Always is basically the way that you should always respond to those kinds of engagements. And then optional is the ways that it doesn't necessarily mean that you need to respond in that manner. And then I've given an example of a response and then things to remember when you're dealing with social customer service engagement. So with the complaints, the reason why I've even incorporated this plan into the social customer service webinar is because once you start categorizing your interactions with customers, it becomes easier to develop a plan as to how you want to respond to them. And you become more consistent in the way that you respond to them. If you're a solopreneur, which means basically you're the only one running your business, and so you're handling the social media, you're handling all the orders, you're handling all the interactions with customers, this is really good for you because you can actually be consistent in how you respond to them, and you can develop even like a social media customer service fact page or policy or manual or procedure based off of this. If you have a business that has several different people working for you, this is also a great way for them to use as a template as to how to respond to customers and the way that they engage with you. So I know that in Ghana, sometimes in some businesses, they only want one person to respond to customers. But then if you're in the situation where you have other people, 2 or 3 different people responding to customers or dealing with customers, this is a way to provide more consistent customer service over social media. There's some businesses that allow all their employees to have social media handles. So you'll realize that if you use any kind of, I've noticed this a lot with the productivity tools and social media management tools online. When you contact their customer support emails or whatever, you always get max@later.com or kelly@later.com or I don't know, kofi@later.com. So all their employees actually have a customer support account so that they can, no matter how busy it is, there's always someone to respond to the customer service comments on their social media channels, no matter what channel it is. And this is a great strategy to use if you are growing your business, because it actually informs how you train your customers, and it informs the how you train your employees, and it informs the responsibilities that you give your individual employees when it comes to customer service. So I personally think of customer service as the whole company, like it's a culture. I don't think that you should have a customer service department. I think every employee should be equipped to provide excellent customer service. So this plan would make it easier for you to actually train your employees to provide that service that you want at the level that you want on social media. So let's go through it. So let's start with complaints. When someone contacts or makes a comment that your salesperson was rude, the immediate action that you should always have is to apologize, okay? So rather than asking what happened first, always apologize. Say sorry, even if it's to just say sorry that they are not happy, and say you want to help. That is a very good way to de-escalate the tension between the customer and your brand. So that would be the immediate response to that after their comments. From there, you can also try and see, you can also try and find out what happened. So if it's a situation where you need their personal information, then you take it offline because you don't want them to put their personal information out in the public, and then you try and resolve it. So for the next webinar, one of the things that we're going to talk about are specific questions that you can ask to get the most information out of a customer, especially when it's a conflict or an unhappy, irate customer. So when you take it offline, then you come back online and basically say, thank you for reaching out to us, and we appreciate that you told us about your experience, and we hope that we were able to resolve this in a way that you're happy with. And then other spectators can see that you resolved the issue and you didn't leave the customer hanging. So when you go to an attack, business X is a scam. This is very similar to one of the case studies we're using today, but it's important that when you get an attack, you're not defensive. There's situations where your customer might be going through, maybe they're going through some personal stuff, and this is like a very exaggerated response to whatever they're going through. So you always have to actually put yourself in the customer's shoes and try not to get so defensive. I know that when you're running a business and you're like, you're hustling and you're like putting your blood, sweat, and tears into a business, and someone says something like that, it's so easy to get offended. But you have to always remember to try and be understanding. So you try to understand where the customer is coming from, and you address them or comment or respond to them from an understanding place. So one thing I usually say is like, I understand that you're frustrated, or I understand that you didn't have a great experience. I would like to find out what happened so that I can resolve this in a timely manner, or I can resolve this as soon as possible. We value your patronage. There's so many different things that you can say to ensure that the customer doesn't feel that you're being defensive, and that you actually want to hear why they got to the point where they posted that your business is a scam. Okay, so query. How much is product X? This is probably the most common question. Queries are very common because if you're running a business where you're not putting your prices online, you're gonna get so many queries a day. The first thing I'll say is that start to document what your queries are so that you can actually have a facts page, so frequently asked questions. Once you have that facts page, then you can also share it with your employees, and they know the right responses to those questions. So start documenting your queries. And then with the queries, you want to give a time frame for when it will be answered. So if you have, so let's say Facebook Messenger, you can actually set it up so that it gives you, it has an automatic message that says, okay, we'll respond to your message. Thank you for contacting business X. We'll respond to your message in the next 30 minutes, or the next hour, next day. Hopefully it's not a day, but next 12 hours or something like that, or as soon as possible. But I try to give a specific time range so that the customer knows how long it's going to take, and they're not, well, just sitting around like, okay, when are they going to respond to me? So with the compliments, okay, like, so with the query, you have to give a specific time frame and stick to it. Otherwise, the customer may feel ignored, or they might think you're hiding something, or that you don't really care what your customers think. With a compliment, you have to, the compliment here is, wow, thank you for the speedy service, even though my order was last minute. So this is basically about, this is a testimonial. You can basically use this as a testimonial. As I said in the optional part of this table, it says, ask if you can use their statement as promotional material. But obviously, even if someone's giving you a compliment, it's serves you better to respond as soon as possible and say thank you, and even ask them to come back for another product or another service. It's a great way to upsell your products and your services. And you want that person to feel special and to feel seen, okay? And with the chats, this is just conversational. So someone just randomly posts, I just made the best smoothie using Hendy frozen mangoes. So with this, you can actually engage in a conversation, and this is how you do your customer engagement and you build customer relationships. So you make the most of it. And it's like the holy grail of audience engagement. If you see someone talking about your product and service in like such a positive way, let them know that you see it. So respond to it and say, oh, what kind of smoothie did you make? Or what else did you put in your smoothie? Or you can say, we're always trying to make your smoothies easier and for a shorter time frame or less hassle. We're always trying to make your smoothies less of a hassle. If you have any more recommendations as to what fruits we should provide, let us know. But it just is an opportunity to take advantage of chatting with your customers and to treat them like a friend. So to provide a human experience when it comes to your social customer service. Okay, so I mean, obviously the options are putting a very generic response to any of your complaints, your attacks, or your queries, and saying, thanks for letting us know, we've passed your message on to the relevant department. Usually this is a response for bigger companies. If you're a smaller company, you would say, we've passed your you've passed your message on to the client service personnel or the client service officer. But I try not to use generic responses like that. I really want people to know that I'm paying attention to them, and it makes them more comfortable reaching out to me or to anyone in my company if they need help. And then also another option is, like I said, with the compliment, asking if you can use their compliments for promotional material or as a testimonial. With the query, what you can do is you can also use it in the sense that you publicly post the answer so that everyone else can see it. Again, social customer service is a spectator sport. So if you're responding to someone, rather than just responding to them directly, like retweet it or retweet with a comment and post it so that everyone can see the response to that. Or you can pin it somewhere, or you can put it in your, on Instagram stories, you have the highlights where it's like your facts, so people can see the responses to those questions. But it also just makes it easier for you so that you're not responding to the same questions over and over again. Okay. All right. Okay, so finally, you have to remember that most attacks are not trolling. You know, you're dealing with human beings and they are frustrated, they have bad days. You know, people have the right to criticize your brand. And like I said at the beginning of this webinar, you have to take these negative comments and use them as ways to improve your service. There has to be something. It's not every single negative comment that is valid, but usually it stems from somewhere. So for example, maybe let's use the complaints your salesperson was rude. That might be an alert that the person that's handling your customer the person that's in your customer facing role that's handling your customers might not be suited for that role. Maybe they have a short temper, maybe they just get very irritated really fast. They don't have the patience that they need to be able to deal with customers. So that might be a point where you really sit down and reevaluate whether that person is right for the role that they're in. They might be better served somewhere else in your business. It's really important that you also get your employees' feedback as to what happened. So if someone basically says, let's use the same example, your salesperson was rude, it's worth sitting them down and asking them what happened, or having them fill a report about what happened. You know, it's good to document the customer service interactions with your customers so that you can actually keep track of whether you're improving or not. It's always important to deal with the issue that's raised in a timely manner. You don't want the customer to feel awkward or unwelcome when you're dealing with any issue that they're having. You always want that customer to feel welcome, irrespective of how bad the issue is or how bad their comments or social media engagement was. It's really important that they feel heard, they feel seen, they feel valued from your brand. The reason why it's important is because if something, I have customers that will literally send me a message if something is going wrong, or maybe they didn't get, maybe they were supposed to get an email and they didn't get it. but they don't do it in an attack mode. They don't do it in attack mode because they know I'm receptive to that feedback. So I'll always apologize and say, I'm so sorry. I'm not going to tell them, oh, go and check your junk mail. I'll just say, I'm really sorry. I'm going to send it out again. I apologize for the delay. So you want to also develop relationships where there's open communication and two-way communication, because that's where you get the most optimized customer engagement with your customers. I know that in past webinars, people have complained about not getting customer feedback. When they send out surveys to their customers, the customers just don't respond. And I also deal with that. But I think when you start focusing on your social customer service in a way that you want customers to always feel welcome, no matter what information they're providing you, it is that much easier to get feedback from them. So it doesn't necessarily mean that you're getting feedback online. You can literally just pick up your phone and call them and say, hey, this is what we're doing. We just wanted to find out what your thoughts are on this, and they'll be much more willing and more welcome to providing that feedback for you. So you have to think about customer feedback as well as part of your social customer service plan. Because if you don't think about the tone that you're setting with your social customer service interactions, and you kind of like just go and play by the ear, it's going to be that much harder to start to get your customers to engage with you in a positive way. Okay, so let's go on to the next slide. So I like these two surveys because it provides you with both sides of customer engagement. So why consumers or customers are reaching out to brands, and why consumers unfollow brands on social media. So the pros and the cons, okay? So obviously consumers will reach out to brands because they've had a great experience. They have a product or service question. They had a bad experience. They have a suggestion or an idea. They need help with a product or service. They depend on a product or service. They don't see a product or service they need. So if it's out of stock, and maybe the brand posts about political or social issues. So let's say right now we're talking about COVID-19, and every brand is talking about COVID-19 right now. So that might be a reason, but it's not the biggest reason a consumer is going to reach out. It's really just it's their interaction with your product or service, and how they can get more information or more value out of your product and service, okay, in the experience. And consumers will unfollow a brand on social media because they might have had a poor customer service experience. The brand is just posting irrelevant content, like nothing to do with what they do. They just maybe retweeting random people. And this happens a lot when you have a third party managing your social media. So you have to really be careful about that and be aligned with whoever is going to be managing your social media. There's too many ads from that brand. Let's say they're always advertising something. So they're always selling. They're not providing any additional value. They're not engaging. Too many promotional posts, always promoting stuff. They talk about politics or social issues. So this is very subjective. Some people don't want to be associated with brands that deal with politics or, affiliated with a specific political party and stuff like that. And then they ignore posts and mentions from people. So if you're ignoring your customers, they're going to feel like there's no point even following this account, like this company. And then they use influencers to sell products. So this is like the least in the survey, but usually it puts people off when they see too many influencers like selling a brand's product, because they realize that the influencers are being paid to promote the product. So it's not a genuine portrayal of their experience with the product or service. So you always have to pay attention to that. Okay. You always have to pay it. Sarah, I just saw your question, so we'll answer that at the end of the webinar. You always have to pay attention to that. Okay, so let's go to our case studies. Okay, so this is the case study that I was talking about earlier on in the webinar. Basically, yesterday, a customer, so the first part on the first tweet that you see that starts with, so I think SlidePay, is a customer basically just expressing that, something weird is going on because there's some limitations to the services that SlidePay was offering, and they were concerned about it. I don't know how you guys would, maybe I should have included a poll for that, how you guys would categorize this comment. but they basically posted it, and then SlidePay went on to, okay, at that point, SlidePay was actually just didn't respond for several weeks. I think it was even months. They hadn't responded to it. I think they didn't have access to their Twitter account. So when they did get access to their Twitter account, whoever was handling the SlidePay's accounts basically attacked the customer, told the customer that this is defamation, they can be taken to court for saying something like this, all sorts of stuff, and then tried to provide like reasons as to why all these things were happening. But it was basically an attack by the brand. At this point, I saw it because obviously, like I said, social customer services, Spectator Sports, someone must have liked it and it popped up on my page. And I said, hello, SlidePay, we understand seeing a tweet like this might be alarming. And that's an example of using emotions, okay? So talking about how they might be feeling. But we would love to assist you with your social customer service. Feel free to sign up for your customer support team to our social customer service webinar tomorrow. At this point, so many other people had seen the tweets by SlidePay, and they were just like all these negative comments from other people like, oh, this is the experience that I had with them. I've had negative experiences with SlidePay. And then eventually they came back and tried to apologize to the customer about what they said earlier. So the customer then edits their response and says, basically they should say they're sorry and then explain why there's some issues with their services or restrictions to their services. So this is actually like an excellent example. Your customers will have negative experiences with your brand, and it might not necessarily be your fault, but you should always be approaching from a space where you're apologetic for their experience. It doesn't necessarily mean that you've done anything wrong. You're just apologetic because you don't want them to have a negative experience. And you should always be open to discussing whatever the issue is. So had they just apologized for even the delay in getting back to the customer and explained what the changes and the restrictions were, that would have been great. Later on, I think it was today, the CEO or one of their top executives ended up responding to the tweet and explaining what was going on. You don't want to handle your social media comments and engagements in this way. So this is a case study where this is what you do not do on social media when it comes to your customer service. So, and this is another one that happened yesterday. Like I said, a lot of people contact me on social media when they have a bad experience. Usually they either tag me or they tag Bawoni Consults. And the interesting thing about this was when she posted about this, I responded and told her I recommended another candle brand, and it happened to be the brand that she had the negative experience with. So that was interesting, and I just ended up sending her a DM. I told her I would DM her, and I found out more information about it. But this is an example of an unhappy customer heading to social media to complain. She didn't tag the brand, but she definitely caught other people's attention because she posted it and people saw it. And then obviously after talking to her, she just said she's never going to purchase anything from the brand, even though she's constantly been purchasing candles from them over like for the past however many years. She just decided that the experience was so negative that she doesn't want to interact with the brand anymore. Usually what I always ask a customer when someone contacts me on social media about an experience that they had, one of the first questions I asked is, how was it resolved? So you should always be thinking about, how can I resolve this situation so that there's a positive outcome? Sometimes it might be at your expense, but so long as that customer leaves with a positive outcome, the value of that is way more than what you're losing by giving a freebie or giving a sample or sending a new dispatch rider with a new sample or new products to the customer, okay? So Zappos is one of my favorite brands to talk about when it comes to customer experience. This is a Facebook post basically about a Zappos experience. First bad Zappos experience today. So that just shows you that this customer has been purchasing from Zappos for a while, and Zappos is a shoe company, an online retail company. Promised I would have my order today. I just called again and it hasn't been shipped yet. Now, not until Monday. So they say now, more like Dell customer service than Zappos customer service. So this just tells you that the customer has had negative customer service from Dell, and that's basically how the standard that he uses to decide whether a brand has good or bad customer service. So Zappos basically has an interesting model. What they do is that, first of all, they're social customer service leaders. And what they do is that all their employees have a Twitter account dedicated to service issues. So any employee can respond to customer service issues because they've been trained on it. They understand the company culture, and their company culture is so tied to their customer service culture that it's not even something that someone wouldn't know working at Zappos. And this ensures that they have a rapid response to any comments where Zappos is tagged in, or any kind of engagement on social media. And they aim for a response time of less than 20 minutes. So the minute there's a post, someone from Zappos is gonna contact the customer. And since 1999, Zappos' mission has been to be the company that provides the absolute best service online, not just in shoes, but in any category. So irrespective of whatever the operations of the product or the service is, they are just adamant about providing excellent customer service. So with this customer, what they did was, obviously the customer had a timeline, and they weren't able to get their product on time. They gave the customer a $50 coupon. And the coupon had a time restriction to it, right? And the customer is like, well, I can't use it on this order. So for them, the coupon was irrelevant. It just didn't make any sense. And they went an extra step to say, we'd be happy to apply it to this order if it would help, if it would help you. So let us know, and we don't want, so they didn't want to disrupt Thanksgiving Day for the customer. So really understanding that the positive outcome is most important is what's going to differentiate you from another business that's just like, okay, I'm sorry, I hope it won't happen again. We'll try and make sure it doesn't happen again. You want to try and make sure that when that customer is done interacting and engaging with you, they're happy that they did interact and engage with you, and that they're more willing to interact and engage with you for future issues or future comments or engagements that they have. Starbucks. Starbucks is another customer service leader. One thing I love about Starbucks is, other than their coffee, of course, is they are very responsive to their customers on social media. So they're always having conversations with their customers, but they actually went a step further and created a Starbucks idea handle. So this account basically allows customers to give them ideas on how they can improve their services. And this is interesting because it makes the whole process of getting customer feedback very informal and more organic. So rather than someone just tweeting, oh man, I wish Starbucks had a coconut flavored coffee, they could just at this handle and say, Starbucks, I think a good idea would be for you to have a coconut flavored coffee, or to make sure that your ice is available all year round and not just during summer, or that your iced teas are available all year round, not just during summer. And when you look at their interactions, you'll see that because they interact so much with their customers, they have thousands, tens of thousands of retweets and likes and engagements on social media. The great thing about the analytics on social media platforms is they can actually tell you about your engagement. So you want to pay attention to how much people are engaging with different things that you're posting, or how you're interacting with customers, and then kind of fine tune your social customer service to that, okay? Because the engagements and the insights on your analytics will really tell you what your customers are paying attention to. Okay. So I had to take a brand that is in Ghana that's doing amazing. And if you're on Twitter, then you know that Fanuelo Ghana, their account is really entertaining, and they're really quick to just adapt to trends. They're very innovative. They have games on there. So they're not just focusing on this customer service aspect of it, they're just focusing on building relationships and building engagement with their customers. So like this one tweet, someone just said, I want Fanuelo. She didn't even tag the accounts, but they caught it. And this is why I was talking about searching for mentions that might not be obvious. And they provided her with a number where she could get the Fanuelo delivered to her account. If you look at the date, it's pretty recent. So it was right about the time of lockdown and Corona, where people don't want to go out necessarily and buy things. And the yogurt sellers, the Fanuelo sellers and stuff are not going around as much. So that's one customer that's going to be happy knowing that she can actually get the products delivered directly to her home. And then the next one is a customer that received a Mother's Day gift from Fanuelo with different products, and she posted about it. She tagged them in it, and they also went ahead and responded to her thanks for the Mother's Day gift, and went ahead and said, can you give mom a big hug and wish her a happy Mother's Day from us. If it was another brand, they would have probably just retweeted it and left it at that. But they actually were chatting with the customer. So that's an example of the chat category that we spoke about, and even the compliment category that we spoke about, where you can go a step further and be responsive and not just focus on the customer service issues, but building relationships and keeping customers engaged. Okay, so the key takeaways. Social customer service is more than just providing customer service on social media channels. Your business can benefit in so many ways from effective social customer service, brand awareness, brand engagement, increased customer lifetime value, trends, and insights. It's a great way to determine where you are on the journey to social customer service. So are you in the first stage, which is where you're just reaching out to customers and talking about your products and your service? Or are you responding to customers and engaging with them? And are you going a step further and resolving and actively incorporating social customer service into your operations and engagements with your customers? Next is just in order to have a solid social customer service plan, you must be able to identify the type of engagement and provide an appropriate response to ensure a positive outcome. So that's with the social customer service plan, right? So you have to be able to look at all the engagements that you have and determine, is that a compliment? Is that chatting? Is that an opportunity to chat with the customer? Is that a query? Is that an attack? And then appropriately respond to that. And always important with social customer service to be human. So always try and provide a name so people know who they're talking to. It helps you as a business, because if there is a negative situation or a negative experience with a customer, and you've made it part of your company policy that everyone that interacts with the customer has to provide their name, and the customer submits a complaint or a comment on social media, you can actually ask them, sorry, who did you deal with? And then pinpoint who they had their interaction with and find out what really happened for that customer to have a negative experience. So I recommend all my employees and even all my clients that have trainees that I train, that they should incorporate some kind of process or procedure where the person that's dealing with the customer is giving their name when they're dealing with the customer. So hello, my name is Amma, or hello, my name is Maureen, I'll be helping you today. And the customer is able to pinpoint who they had that experience with. Obviously, be creative and innovative about your social customer service. So it's not really just about black and white. Think outside the box, like think about like Starbucks that decided that they're going to create a whole different social media handle so that their customers can tell them their ideas or give recommendations about how they can improve the experience for them. This is free market research, things that people are paying thousands of dollars for. So think outside the box. Outside of the box, if you're introducing a new product, you can have a new account or a new email address that people can submit anonymous reviews or submit anonymous feedback to and get more information from your customers. Or even a hashtag is a great way to do that. And then you have to realize that your company's culture and your social media legacy should go hand in hand. So if you're running a company like Sarah Surprises is about bringing joy to people and surprising people with amazing packages that you offer on very special days from their loved ones. So I would think about love, joy, happiness. You want to make sure that whoever is interacting with your customers online and offline also emanates those feelings. So they should always be happy, they should always be joyful, like the customer should always feel that when they're interacting with whoever is behind your social media account. Okay, so the next actionable steps for your business is poll number 4. See if I can get it. Okay, so we've talked about different things. We've talked about setting up a social customer service plan. One of the recommendations was responding to every comment on social media in a timely manner. So you have to decide what that's going to look like for your business. Define all comments before responding, so then you're giving an accurate response to your clients or your customers, and then focusing on social media platforms where your customers are, rather than spreading yourself out. There's nothing wrong with canceling or deleting or deactivating an account even after you've had it for a while, because your customers aren't there anyways. You want to be able to be responsive when it comes to your customers. So I'll launch the poll, and I want you to pick one action that you're going to try and put in place as soon as we get off this webinar and start thinking about in terms of your social customer service. Okay, so it looks like focus on social media platforms where my customers are is in the lead, and then respond to every comment on social media in a timely manner. So I'll share the results with you.